Good morning, everyone. This is Anne-Marie. Today is Wednesday, January the 23rd. We've got a lot of things going on today, a lot of stocks reporting that are of extreme interest to those of us that like to play these very big movers, Apple being one, Netflix being the other, and a grand number of things. This is a huge week for releases and earnings. All right, so let's take a look at SPY so far. No matter what time frame I look at, we've got very strong relative price movement and momentum, although meandering a bit, is still positive. Notice we are still moving farther and farther away from the monthly VWAP, right? As long as we continue to shift up and away from the monthly VWAP, it means that momentum is in continuation. The first thing we need to think about today is the fact that 1618 is sitting up here, the 1618%, and that's 149.28. We've got that to look at. We've got the 200% fib to look at up here at 151.58. That looks very close to the initial target space. This is not a perfect butterfly. If they were a perfect butterfly, these two guys would be together. So instead there's a range, and we are up at the top of the range right now. Could we pull back just a little bit, test the 100 breakout area? Maybe. 148.15. We could roll, touch there, and pop to the upside. That looks pretty reasonable, or we could just continue to move up. I expected yesterday to be a bit of a grind, and it was until about 1 o'clock, and then this really started to move, and that's very interesting to me. I think that there's a lot of participation here, a lot of interested buyers, and so we're going to watch for that. Notice very, very simply, if you want to keep yourself on the right side of the trade, just make sure your candlesticks are making higher lows and higher highs. All right, if they pull back like this and they start making lower lows and lower highs, look for frontline support made by the other candlesticks, and then keep that as your baseline event for holding your stop. And if we'd done that, we could see that this level really had support region just underneath the 100% breakout event of 148.15, and that was somewhere down here at 147.95. And so we've got to keep our eyes on those sorts of things. And then, it keeps us to the upside. Same thing here. This is now the weekly VWAP that I've added because we're so far from the monthly VWAP. It's time to bring in a tighter form to take a look at that. We do normally stay pretty close to this one, so once it starts getting very extended like this, we know that we're going to have a shift down, but right now we're holding pretty close. So it's like any other normal formation here for the weekly VWAP. What's the bias? It continues to be up, but the readings for the detrended price oscillator are much smaller in comparison to the gigantic moves that we've had in the past. So what this tells us is that momentum is dampening on smaller time frames for the DPO. Now for the SMI, that's still moving up very, very nicely, but we are getting some measure of inflection. And when we do get that measure of inflection, we just need for it to break top line support before we have ourselves another move. So if we are to consider, well, what might that be? Well, frontline support looks like it might be about here, right? Quickly, it could come down into here. So we have 148.48, or if we want to be more conservative, looks like maybe 148.64 would be the region we would need to break before we can have ourselves some movements. If you are the type of trader that likes to trade on these very noisy levels And I used to, at one time, trade these noisy levels. I don't anymore. They're not, you can't, they're not my thing anymore. But if you are, again, the same thing is here. You can add the daily VWAP if you like, because you can use it like that. But if you can see that weekly VWAP, you see it's far away, drifting up just a little bit, that number, you can move really to here and then to here. So you're looking at that same 48, 84-ish, 48, 83-ish area that I mentioned the first time. That's going to be the breakdown space, but you can see that it is moving in a pretty solid space. Notice everything's still above the zero line. Everything's above the zero line, it's just damp. And when we're looking at this 5-minute chart, we can see that there's pretty solid movement, though dampening, still moving to the upside. The bias continues to be long. Today I do imagine that we have the likelihood of a pullback. Maybe just a little one, but we've got to start this general rotation to keep ourselves healthy so we can continue to move to the upside. Good luck trading today.